One of the most important parts of your LinkedIn settings is your visibility settings, and these determine how visible your profile is not only on LinkedIn searches, but also from Google searches as well. If your settings are off in any way, that can lead to less connections, less hiring managers and recruiters messaging you, and overall, people finding you far less often. So we're going to be covering your LinkedIn visibility settings, and there is a lot of them. We're going to be focusing on some of the main visibility settings in our on-screen demo that we're going to get to in a minute. But you should also know that LinkedIn allows you to create a custom URL for your profile, which is important as well if you're looking to grab a specific URL or LinkedIn link. So let's dive into the actual visibility settings directly here within LinkedIn. When you're within LinkedIn, go into your settings options, or you can optionally go directly to this link here, and it'll take you to this page, which has all of the various settings. Now, in this case, we're mainly concerned with our visibility settings, so let's go ahead and navigate over here. So here we can go ahead and click Edit Your Public Profile, and this is going to take us to the most important visibility settings within LinkedIn. So here, first, we can edit our custom URL. Go ahead and create this as something that is simple to remember. For example, first initial last name with a number, first name, last name, whatever it is that you can get that LinkedIn hasn't already taken is ideal. In this case, if I tried to change mine to just N Mendez, it's more than likely that this specific URL it will be taken. So as you can see, it is taken. So you might need to do a little bit of some modifications to your URL name in order to get one that you actually like. From here, if we start scrolling down on the right-hand section, we can go ahead and start to see some of our visibility settings that are incredibly important. So we definitely want our profile's public visibility on it since we're building out our LinkedIn, and there's a few different options here we have. So this basic option here is required and it's automatically enabled. You can't really change that, but keep in mind, you can edit your profile photo, and I recommend that you do keep this set to public. Now, if you do change it, at most, I would say change it to all LinkedIn members, but I would leave it on public because what's going to happen is your profile and your picture will actually start to be indexed by Google. So you may start to appear in Google search results, which is always a great plus for personal branding. Now, if you only want to stay on LinkedIn, you could choose all LinkedIn members, but for your profile photo, I do not recommend that you only show it to your network, and I do not recommend that you only show it to first degree connections. I recommend either all LinkedIn members if you're looking for a little bit more privacy, or public. I'm going to go ahead and leave mine on public. Same thing with your background photo here or your banner. I would always show this. There's really no reason why you shouldn't. Same thing with your headline. You can also show different areas like your websites, summary, and all of these different areas that we've configured when we were building out our LinkedIn at first. And that is it for these most important settings here. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to the LinkedIn visibility settings and start to play around with some of those. But just keep in mind, you want to make sure that almost all of these different areas are showing in order to make the most of your LinkedIn profile. Now, there may be some times where for privacy reasons, you want to disable showing these publicly, and that's completely fine. But make sure that you frequently check your visibility settings if you do make these private, and you often consider updating them. So here's what we can start doing is we can start modifying some of these other areas outside of our public profile, more on the back end of LinkedIn. Let's first talk about profile viewing options. Now, here's one thing about profile viewing. While it is useful for networking, if you are looking to get a little bit more information about, say, a job, maybe you're interviewing somewhere and you're looking at a few different people's profiles, it might be better if you stay in private mode. Personally, I leave mine on private mode because I just personally like to be able to look at people's profiles and either message them or not message them without having the fear of, hey, did they see that I was looking at their profile or whatever it is. So if you're really looking to network and really looking to build your LinkedIn profile, I do recommend you change this to your name and your headline. That way people can see that you actually visited their profile, and they can see that you are looking at their profile, and they might even reach out to you if you don't reach out to them. This next option here, page visit visibility, this applies to visiting business pages. I just leave this off. It's really not that important. Again, we've already edited our public profile, so we're not going to worry too much about that. This option here, who can see or download your email address, you can go in here and change that to private if you'd like. I haven't really messed around with that setting, and I have never found that any of my LinkedIn information has been linked, either my email or anything like that. Who can see your connections? Now, this is an area where you might want to change connection visibility to all if you're really looking to maintain a public appearance, but for privacy reasons, I do not allow other people to view my connections, and in this case, I would recommend actually leaving this off unless you have a good reason to. Now, if you're following someone on LinkedIn, anyone on LinkedIn will be able to see it by default, or you can change it only visible to me. In this case, because I don't really care for someone to see who I'm following, I might just change this to only visible to me, but that setting doesn't matter that much. Representing your organizations and interests, I just turn this off. Page owners, exporting your data, I turn that off as well. Profile discovery and visibility off LinkedIn, you can go ahead and either leave this on or off, but just keep in mind, if you do have this on, there is the possibility of people within a company being able to see your LinkedIn profile. For example, if you're working somewhere and maybe you're looking for a new job and you're already employed, might be better to turn the setting off, because essentially what happens is you're allowing people outside or programs outside of LinkedIn to actually show your information. So it depends really. If you're looking to keep privacy, I would put profile visibility outside of LinkedIn as off, because it is possible, again, if you're looking to find a new role and you're very aggressive with searching for a new role, it is possible the manager that you work for, your boss, or someone could see this. This doesn't matter too much, but again, if you're in the corporate world, I would just turn this off. It's just not really a setting worth bothering with. So profile discovery using email address, I leave this to first degree connections. You can open this up if you'd like, but I'm not really too concerned about someone using my email finding me, just because most people know my first and last name, and there really shouldn't be a reason why someone is actually just searching me by my email. So I leave this on first degree connections. If you want to open it up more, you can, but I just recommend leaving it how it is or keeping it a little bit more restricted because, again, someone's using your email, they probably don't know your first and last name, which is kind of strange for them to be looking for you on LinkedIn with just your email. I just leave it like that just for privacy reasons and just so people can't go out and like scrape all of your data. In terms of profile discovery using your phone number, I do not let anyone use this just because, again, your phone number isn't really a piece of information that someone should be looking you up on LinkedIn with. If I have a personal phone number, I'm not necessarily wanting people to use my personal phone number to look me up on LinkedIn, right? I kind of keep the two separate. Same thing with, whatever social media, it's kind of like keeping the two divided. LinkedIn is for your professional life. Your phone number, in my opinion, is for your personal life. I would actually recommend just turning that off and not letting anyone use your phone number. And then we also have blocked members here. So these are just people that you blocked, for whatever reason they would appear within there. So in terms of visibility of your LinkedIn activity, I do leave my active status on. If you're not looking for people to see when you're online, you might want to turn that off. In terms of sharing different types of things on your profile, I turn that off. If I want to post something, I'll just post it. Notifying connections when you're in the news, I leave that as off. If you're often in news articles and you want them to be automatically added in, well, I should say if you're often in news articles and you want people in your network to be notified by that automatically, this is probably a good option. Mentioned by others, I don't really want people on my LinkedIn seeing if I'm mentioned by others. And then lastly, this followers option is for if you're looking to allow people to follow you. If you're not looking to have more of like a public facing profile on LinkedIn, you could just change this to your connections right here. Personally, I leave this to everyone on LinkedIn. Someone can follow you, you can start getting followers. To me, it doesn't really matter. And additionally, if your profile gets really, really big, you can make follow as your primary. I accidentally ticked it there, so I'm going to leave it off. But let's say you had 2 or 3 or 4 or 5,000 connections and you weren't looking to make any more connections. You just were looking to have followers. This would be enabled. This is more of like a business function though. Like let's say you ran a business and you had 20,000 subscribers on a certain platform. You might open this up so people could follow you. But for the most part, if you're just someone building their personal brand, I would just allow everyone on LinkedIn to follow you, or ideally maybe just your connections. I would not make follow your primary because you should be focused on building out connections. In fact, if you are new to LinkedIn, you might just want to do just your connections. All right, so these were all the settings on LinkedIn as far as they currently look as of the time of this video. These are the visibility settings that greatly control what people can see on your profile, ways that they can look you up, as well as overall managing your public facing view for LinkedIn. And really, there's quite a few areas you're going to want to go through, read all about these different areas as you go through them. Make sure that each option works for you. The options that I selected in this video or options that I personally have on my profile are a little bit more on the privacy side. So I like to keep a little bit more privacy, but as you're starting out on LinkedIn, you may be looking for either more privacy and potentially less connections, or you may be looking for less privacy and more connections. So make sure to go through all these options and make sure that things are selected based off of what you're specifically looking for.